So, welcome to today. I'm Christine.
I'm Liz.
And we are Double D-Fense. We're an all-female New York Rangers podcast, bringing you fun conversation about our New York Rangers, the NHL and hockey, and so much more. Thank you for joining us.
Well, hello, Christine.
Well, hello again.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm having, are you having withdrawals? With
You know
that,
what? I
that
am.
clock?
Playoff hockey goes from like every single day, like 2 games a day, down to like this dwindling now that we're about to start the finals into like, oh, we have days between games. It's kind of sad.
I think we're going to have to do a future episode on like how to, and we might have touched on it before, like a year or two ago, but I think we need to reemphasize that, like how to deal with, the sudden withdrawals of hockey, so, because it's like just a few weeks ago, what we had how many games a day, like 6 games a day. The hockey went from 10 in the morning to 10 at night. It was beautiful. It was so great. And now I'm like, wait, I got to rush for what? So it all does pick up tomorrow. And I know we have an agenda for today, more specific, to things, but who are you looking forward to winning? I'm gonna go with Canada and Knobloch, and that's about all I want to root for.
I know your allegiances are torn. I have to say, I would love to see Canada get a win, and part of that is actually a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. We are bringing to you a very special 2-part episode of Double D-Fense. There have always been conspiracy theories in the world of the NHL. Those conspiracy theories range from really basic, like behind the scenes negotiation with players, to some pretty metaphysical possibilities of connections between teams. And we have mentioned it on this podcast before, but the teams that have always fascinated me in this way are the New York Rangers and the Edmonton Oilers. And with the Oilers about to go into their second Stanley Cup finals in a row, potentially looking to bring the Stanley Cup back to Canada for the first time since 1993, we thought today would be a great opportunity to dive into all the conspiracy theories between the New York Rangers and Edmonton Oilers. And we do have a few to break down for you. So I think one of the things that we are curious about too is also where Commissioner Gary Bettman falls into this, because he arrived on the scene in what, Christine, 1993?
1993.
Yeah.
Right after Canada took home a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, right after the Montreal Canadiens won. Yeah, and has not won, and Canada has not won since. So yeah, we might get into that a little bit more in next week's part 2 episode. But for today, we're going to go down the list of some pretty incredible New York Rangers, Edmonton Oilers conspiracies. The first one, the Oilers East theory claim that the New York Rangers deliberately became Oilers East by acquiring key Edmonton players in the 1990s to buy a Stanley Cup. The 1994 Rangers team featured Mark Messier, Glenn Anderson, Kevin Lowe, Craig McTavish, Adam Graves, Esa Tikkanen, and Mike Keenan. All of them had ties to the Oilers. So, Christine, what do you think? Did the Rangers have a plan to just bring all the Edmonton Oilers over to New York so they could buy a Stanley Cup?
When you're looking at it this way, and you have to think back at, this is a long time ago.
That brings back.
And I was there, so I'm old enough to remember. But yeah, I do remember how it was a big deal, and look what happened, right? Look, it was Messier who made these calls and promises and made things happen. So when you kind of look at the details, first of all, how do we get all these people in 1 year or, over the time? Like, we can't even trade off one player. We don't.
I've been personally trying to get rid of Condre Miller for like 3 years at this
point. Everybody else is So when you see it and you kind of read about it like this, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, was there an agenda for that? You know, look, you're saying here's the twist. Fans joked that the Rangers stole the Oilers' dynasty to finally end their 54-year cup drought. Uh, you know, yeah, I mean, these were key players on the team, to make things happen.
And New York is also a huge market and, not something that I think would go unmissed by Bettman if it's his first full year as commissioner. How wonderful
Wanting
is
something
it? And how dramatic was the 1994 playoff run for the New York Rangers? And you were at some of the games, right?
I was at game 5, and was in New York for game 6 and came home, started my job on Monday, watched game 7 on Tuesday. So it was a crazy week I'll remember forever. It did go 7 games. Obviously it was good. It was close. It was exciting and it went the way that we wanted it to go. So, you know, uh, yeah, and I mean, and nowadays when you're watching all these bad ref calls and stuff, I'd love to go back and kind of rewatch, all the 7 games. I think we need more nights where Ben's going to play it for us, at 5 in the morning, so we can get up and watch it. And so,
I love it.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's an interesting theory. You know, I do not oppose the
I
idea that
totally agree.
and
And this
they
sort of
probably
builds
have
on
more
this.
money and stuff and more abilities to do that. I mean, we didn't have more, like, we're now more restricted by cap, and talent and everything. And so, yeah, you never know what happens behind closed doors, right?
So true. Okay, and this sort of leads into the number 2 conspiracy
Oh,
theory
yeah.
between the Rangers and the Oilers, the Gretzky
Mm.
pipeline claim. Wayne Gretzky's 1988 trade from Edmonton to LA was just the beginning of a long-term plan to send him to New York.
Yeah.
The conspiracy theory is that some people believe that the executives and agents orchestrated this so that eventually Gretzky would wind up in New York to end his career on the biggest stage. Having been a Kings fan also, I mean, Christine, you have a front row seat to all of this. What were your thoughts? Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was it like when Gretzky got traded to the Kings?
That was great. It was great when he was here and playing, but I always knew that he wanted to be, in New York, retiring with Messier. And so, but it's interesting without having to kind of go back and really do research on this. I'm trying to think of, was it something that he wanted, or was it something to the point like that it was kind of orchestrated to kind of give more attention to the bigger city, and one of the original 6 kind of arenas, MSG, and I mean, they made it happen. So it wasn't even like, I didn't feel like that. Nobody skipped a beat. It was an easy deal, and he went back, played, and retired. And he retired with Messier next to him, and in New York, which is where I always thought that's where he wanted it, but. Without having to go back and kind of really dig deeper for stuff, this is a really interesting kind of theory
And for
that I
him
do
to
not.
go from
No, it's
to go
true.
from Edmonton to 2 major markets in a row. So he did Edmonton and then LA and then New York. So I think part of this conspiracy theory is, were they using Gretzky as sort of a pawn to globalize? I mean, it's two countries, it's Canada and the U.S., but to expand out interest in major markets like New York and LA. And you know what? If they did, like, man, like, they did a good they did a good job. He brought a lot of success
I mean,
everywhere he went.
think about it, what was he going to do? I mean, he was going there to retire, so he wasn't going to be, bringing more historical moments, to the team. So, yeah, to that point, yeah, I mean, what was the idea that a benefit he would bring to retiring there, but just to have the attention, notoriety, and the claim, to say that that's where he retired, which is a forever, you know. Uh, monumentous thing to have. It's going to be in the Rangers history books, so that makes all the sense in the world.
And not to mention like the statue of him in LA. So when you go to crypto.com arena, there's a big statue of Gretzky right up front. So he made his mark on Los Angeles also. So this one's
I
an
know for
interesting
3.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, this one I like. I do get it. I do get it. I think it's also more what he wanted at the same time. And I don't know the numbers. It'll be interesting is see like what was the cost of getting him from LA back to New York, for that, that last, round of applause there. So
Yeah.
this one I liked. I mean, again, they were, they spent their, it's like, think about it. In this day and time, it'd be like, separating McDavid and Draisaitl and then having them reunite for retirement. That's, there's thoughts and theories of that happening, too, of McDavid maybe wanting to do something else after, go to a different team. That won't happen, but that's your equivalent. And so would that happen, in this day? Well, who knows? I
It
think it
might,
gets
it
more.
could.
I think conspiracy theories are more rampant in now, but at least there's more controls in place. So yeah,
And it's
this
a
one I
great
like this one.
story. Yeah. Okay. The
Yeah,
next one is
this
definitely starting to get the conspiracy theories are going to start to get a little more unhinged. I think this is my favorite of all of them. The Messier mole theory claim that Mark Messier was sent to the Rangers as a spy or secret Oilers emissary. Mark Messier left Edmonton in 1991 and immediately became the face and some would say savior of the Rangers. Some fans think that he brought the Oilers culture to New York City on purpose to sabotage them or prove their system was superior. And he wanted to prove that the Oilers dynasty was more about the players than the franchise itself. So did Mark Messier's coming to the New York Rangers secretly destroy the Edmonton Oilers? You know what? I would love to
Clearly,
actually hear from some of our Edmonton fans what their thoughts are on that, because sitting in New York, everything was great and wonderful. And yes, he was very much a savior who was going to lead us, on the path to the Stanley Cup. I have no idea what the tone was
yeah,
like in Edmonton when he left.
yeah. I mean, yeah. That's I don't know. Look what he did. Like look, Edmonton hasn't seen the cup, for that long, and you trade off, one of your top 2 guys, and look what, and we immediately win the cup the year after Bettman takes over.
Yeah.
So the I like to hear Messier's take on this. So, and he'd probably laugh. I think this is funny, but I wonder, it really does kind of, I don't know, at least some more questions on things when you do have these big trades. What kind of secrets and what knowledge are they taking from the team that they have and bringing it over? You know,
Absolutely.
they have
And
to.
this upcoming Stanley Cup between the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers, it's not there's a lot of chatter online that the ratings for these last few rounds have been down from last year. I mean, it's been some not major markets that have gone pretty far this year. What was it? None of the original 6 in the US actually made the playoffs, which is, shocking and surprising. So is it possible that the conspiracy theory is continuing and the NHL is making moves to ensure that some of these smaller markets get onto the stage, leaving the bigger markets out of it? I don't know,
Is
maybe.
it? Oh, that's a gamble. I don't know. I mean, like, look, one of the things, there's a lot of ref you suck. I mean, more chance ever. I mean, in watching these games, unbiased as best as I could be, it was interesting to see bad calls turned away things. And so, and did I see or feel it more? I think I did. Why I don't know. I didn't have a vested interest in any of it. And these kind of things, yeah, like but we saw good things happening, and on the Ranger side. So when we're talking Messier kind of moving over, again, there's details we didn't know, like it, and not focus on what happened to the other teams afterward. They had to kind of rebuild and kind of move on, and yeah, it does kind of play into the thought that these higher ups do kind of at least attempt to mold the outcome of these things, to kind of, what you're saying, play into different markets. This year is a gamble if that's what they're going for. Between it being boring, like it's boring in the way where I don't think anyone wants to see the repeat of things, and and so
the refs are either calling everything or they've just vanished completely. I think there were a couple of periods where literally
we'll go more into that in part 2 there, so just because there seems to be more to that. I mean, look, we could do a whole year-long series on these kind of things as they pop up, because they go from something really legitimate, where to I like crazy. I mean, I think this is funny. Where he was a spy. I think they're all spies. Honestly, I think there is knowledge they have from being on a team for so long, and then when they move over, they have to share some of these things. But to take down a whole team,
especially when the coaches keep changing, and we've seen, and we'll have to get into that at a later date. There's been a lot of coaching announcements over the last couple of days to weeks, where I think people are popping up all over the place in some very unexpected teams. So we'll tackle that, but that'll be interesting to see what information those guys bring with them.
Exactly, and you know what? Again, touching on this playoff. Look at the Panthers. Same coach, same core team, same people. So they keep everything tight, and that right there is a good theory, in what makes a team stronger, or kind of knocks them down when they are continuously kind of moving people around and stuff. I get that. This one's good. Can't wait to watch him. Watch him, on the playoffs, and I'll just look at him differently now. The fastest game on ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup playoffs, where legends are made, and every shift could turn the tide. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slap shot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. Are you new to betting on the Stanley Cup playoffs? Well, you're in for an exciting time. Now's the time to do it. Get started. It is a breeze. Okay, fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, pick your team to win, look in on your wager, and then you're off to the races. It's fast, it's simple, and it puts you right in the middle of all the action.
Right now, the Edmonton Oilers are the favorites to win the 2024-2025 Stanley Cup at minus 120 odds. The lines and odds are subject to change. Here's the kicker. New customers who bet just $5 will score $300 in bonus bets if their wager hits. That's right, turn $5 into a playoff payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. That's promo code THPN to unlock $300 in bonus bets when your $5 bet wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive a reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Copyright 2025 NHL. couple of other names that we haven't even gotten into, which brings us to number 4, the Sather sabotage theory claim. The theory is that Glenn Sather deliberately ran the Oilers into the ground after joining the Rangers to erase his past legacy and rewrite it in New York. So Sather, who is the architect of the Oilers dynasty, joined the Rangers as GM in 2000. And fans in Edmonton have often accused Sather of doing more to benefit the Rangers than he ever did for the Oilers. And the theory is that I guess he really wanted to prove that he was someone without the Oilers background to keep him going.
Yeah, he ended up with Gretzky back there anyway. I don't know how long was Sather there. Yeah, but wouldn't you want to do that too? So that's kind of funny.
Yeah, you've always
I mean,
wanted to
I
blow
would
up like your old workplace.
Yeah, I would. Look, I mean, that's going to happen anywhere. You're going to see that with coaches. You're going to see that with with GMs. We're not seeing our GM move. He's stuck. So we're not gonna benefit. Take your theory and prove us wrong. Like, go, jury, go. But back then, I mean, we're talking, look, 2000. This is 25 years ago. Were they more deliberate in revenge? If they weren't having the right results or getting the right respect, from their teams. I think so.
It'll be interesting to see with Mike Sullivan coming off, his stint with Pittsburgh, and now as the Rangers coach, and obviously they're going to face Pittsburgh a number of times in the regular season. It'll be interesting to see how he handles it, how he is with with Crosby, with the other guys on that team, and see if there's something that he's bringing to the table, and maybe a little bit of petty revenge.
That's the best part about kind of seeing these kind of conspiracy theories, is how we'll view things differently, especially in this upcoming season. I mean, look at we saw so many coaches get fired and leave, transition, switch, retire, whatever. There's still open positions. We saw a couple GMs change as well, and we haven't seen any trades happen yet. So I think after this Stanley Cup series is over, things are going to get wild and crazy, and I think next season's going to be, it's going to be fun to watch after we're kind of looking at these things, because I think we'll pay a little bit more attention, to some of these coaches and teams that had these big changes. I've already kind of alluded to that too, again, just before, with the Panthers and even the Oilers. I mean, they use the same guys. They're not trading a lot of people. They kind of stick to their core team, and look what they're doing. I mean, if they're doing anything, they're acquiring somebody before the finals, like Florida did, and it's benefiting them. So there's something to that I don't know why every other team isn't learning from. That's what I don't get.
We'll track this, especially in the
GM revenge.
I love it.
Yeah. I would love to see that with Drury. I'd love him to go somewhere else and revenge us.
Everybody wants Drury to go somewhere else at this point.
Just revenge us, Drury. Do it. I want to see you try. I want to build on this theory here.
The next one has me giggle, and it's also reminding me there's another theory that is actually not on this list, but I'm going to bring it up in with this number 5 one. Number 5 is the trade back channel theory, that there was, probably still is, a secret back channel between the Rangers and Oilers for decades to swap players under the radar. That comes from a disproportionate amount of players have moved between these two teams, some claiming that front office execs or the NHL itself encouraged deals to maintain visibility of legacy players in bigger markets. So Edmonton was essentially the talent farm, like the farm team, and the Rangers were like the big ticket. And part of that reminds me of how Edmonton and where the Edmonton Oilers play and Madison Square Garden are extremely similar in how those two arenas are built. So it's almost like they have been using the Edmonton Oilers to train
grow
up a
and to grow and
team
farm the players. Like you could,
completely so that
all
they
right,
are
we're
used to
getting
playing.
McDavid. I'll take the whole team right now.
Right.
We
And,
might have to.
and Chris
That's a
Knobloch
great thing.
also, who was the coach of our literal farm team, the Hartford
Yeah,
Wolfpack, and the New York Rangers had an opportunity to go after Chris and decided not to. So there are a lot of weird similarities. Whether it's back channeling, I don't know, but does Edmonton kind of see itself as a little farm team for the Rangers? And what would that look like if they eventually face each other in the finals? That would be amazing.
That's a great theory. I really do like that one, especially back then. You know, 'cause I wasn't, again, I the one thing I love is learning these kind of things because back then it was fun. It was fun to watch. And now that we've been doing the show, look at the things we're learning. And now I just want to focus on those kind of opportunities and to see, because it's funny. We typically have traded our guys south, and then look what that's happened. And so and this year we've seen them being traded west, and so which we've had theories on that too, right? The
A
theories
lot
that
of
we
a
don't want
lot
to
of West trades
with
this
them.
year.
Yeah. So and the fact that we only play West Coast teams, East Coast only play each other, twice. Is its own theory in itself as to where and why you're trading. In addition to the money and the deals, there's more to it. We know that there's way more to it than that. And we were talking about that earlier this season with Trouba. Like they don't want to have to, have our players get hit by him because everyone knows how good he is.
And not to mention
So
what you said before,
lots
like
of
the knowledge that they come with, they're going to use that against you. Absolutely. So why trade them to a team that's in your division where the points really do? I mean, technically, when you're looking at the playoffs, the points do count more if you're playing an in division rival versus a West Coast team. So yeah, ship them out, get them to a place where they can inflict the
I think we learned that.
damage.
I think we learned a lot about that by trading, all other players down to North Carolina and Florida, and then having to play and get smacked by them over and over and over again.
Over and over.
It took them a while. They finally figured that out. So this one, I do like this one, and I have a feeling someone caught on and nixed the whole thing after that, since we haven't really been doing that kind of thing. But I do like this
because
one.
this year we traded players to the Kraken, the Avalanche. I feel like was there anyone else we traded? But everyone was West.
Yeah. I mean, even with Buchnevich in St. Louis, everyone started going west. With the hiring. Now, an interesting kind of to expand on this is now you have the Kings and Edmonton are kind of in their own little theory about with the Kings trying to overcome and beating them. They can beat them in the regular season. They can't beat them in playoffs. Don't forget Edmonton's farm team is down here in Bakersfield. So now there's the California connection to Edmonton too. And I'm sure that we can look at those theories along that side too, because I don't know how on the AHL side, since they're kind of all playing together, how that kind of goes into adding to the theory of Edmonton being somebody's farm team. If it's not the Rangers, maybe it's going to be LA now.
Maybe yeah, that's interesting. Well, that brings us to number 6 on the list, which is a little bit more metaphysical. It's the shared DNA theory team that the Edmonton Oilers and New York Rangers actually have a spiritual or karmic link that binds their fates. Both franchises have had legendary highs, painful lows. Messier won cups with both. Gretzky played for both. There have been very strange parallels in team narratives, from dramatic collapses, long droughts, sudden surges. And the theory running is that there is some sort of hockey multiverse in which the Oilers and the Rangers are mirror franchises. Like Seinfeld, they're like Bizarro World. Edmonton's like Bizarro World. New York Rangers.
Yeah, you got bromances. I mean, they're strong on both teams too, you know. So that I'm sure there's so many things, that you can kind of go in with kind of comparing these two teams.
My
I
theory
like
on this
it.
my theory on this is that if the Edmonton Oilers do win, it's basically like a New York Rangers win. So I don't know how any New York
Is that,
Ranger
okay,
fan
I'm
could.
with you on that one. I can just I don't really need to see the Panthers win twice. So
Nobody needs that.
rooting for Canada. It's kind of how we started the episode here. It's like, who are you going to root for? And I think it just ended with why we should be rooting for them. Yeah, based on the connections and comparisons. Because with this kind of sharing DNA, I think it's in the blood, and there's some kind of destiny in there too. Whether we like it or not, it seems like it's a typical dysfunctional, wonderful, loving family that you'll never shake over time. I mean, your family is your family from the beginning of time to the end of time. So we might as well enjoy it. This the chair DNA is a wonderful a wonderful
Yeah,
conspiracy theory
it's
here
kind
that
of poetic,
I'm
isn't it?
all on
Like,
board with.
and I just feel like Bettman's still secretly pulling the strings behind both, which again we will get into in next week's
It's
episode of Double
more.
D-Fense.
More.
If you guys are listening and you have any conspiracy theories of your own, or you are specifically an Edmonton Oilers fan, we would love to hear it because we have our perspective, being Rangers fans in 1994 when they won the Cup. It would be really interesting to hear from you guys what it was like in Edmonton after you lost all of those players to New York, what the vibe was. I'm very curious. So please definitely hit us up if you have anything
Yeah,
that you want to share about that.
I know. And I don't think we've seen trades like that, kind of since that time too. So, you have, is it a parallel, as we're going to talk more about this next week with the Panthers and the refs and Bettman? It is it a coincidence that Bettman came on board in '93? And these things started to happen right all around this, around this time, and kind of even develop even further between the two teams that are so far apart from each other, but yet so close, metaphysically speaking. So, that just adds to this great topic, and seeing, how things kind of unfold through time, with these teams. I think it's fantastic. And okay, I'm gonna stick. I'm rooting for the Edmonton Oilers. I might not watch it all, but I'm
At
rooting
least
for
a little
them.
bit. At least a
Everything
little bit.
starts tomorrow.
Yes, yes. So we will be with you. Please make sure you're following us on all of our social medias. Christine has you covered on Instagram, and we'll keep you updated on everything that's happening around the NHL, from players who are retiring to updates on game scores, and everything in between. Double D-Fense has also just started our TikTok, which I'm very excited about. That's a little bit more lifestyle focused. But you'll get some great stuff on there. Follow our Facebook page, and please leave us a message on YouTube if there's any topics that you want us to cover in future episodes. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Thanks, everybody.
Yay! Have a great week, everybody.